Boy, oh, killing me softly, and I'm still. Hello everyone, my name is Soraya, if you don't know who I am, and in today's video I'm going to be sharing like my personal story of getting my POSSE scholarship. Especially now that I'm going to be a sophomore in college, I have a lot more wisdom and everything. I filmed 2 other videos. The first one was like when I first got the scholarship, like right after I got it, and then the second one was like a couple days ago, just explaining like the details and give you advice for your first round interview. So if you haven't seen those videos, I will leave a link in the description box. But today is going to just be sharing everything, the rundown, my experience, and where I'm at today. So I'm gonna begin with the interview process, just because that's what everyone's gonna be going through right now, and hopefully you get something from this. And then I'm gonna end the video off just kind of like where I am today, now that I've had 1 year of school, and just how POSSE has treated me in this 1 year. So I hope this video isn't too long. Make sure you go get some popcorn, go get you a soda pop. Do people call that still? Why did I just, okay, whatever. Anywho, let's just get into this, because this is my second time filming it. The first time I looked like Kylie Jenner plus Kim Kardashian's lips mixed together. I don't know what I did with my lipstick. It was bad. So, my POSSE experience. Oh. I want to say it began my junior year of high school, like the end of my junior year of high school, when my school counselor was giving a presentation in like this room full of other juniors, and she was just sharing with us that we needed to get on the ball for scholarships. She was saying how scholarships are very limited and we need to get it popping. I was really hardworking in high school. I was on top of my stuff, so I came ready for that. I had my glasses, I had my notebook, I had everything I needed for that meeting. I knew, and mind you, I don't think anyone knows this, I made a promise to myself. Like a few months back, they gave like a presentation of the seniors awards, and basically the seniors shared in this slideshow they had like a list of colleges all of the kids were accepted to, along with scholarships they received. And one of the girls at my school received I think it was the Gates Millennial Scholarship, which was a full ride plus a $500 stipend to go clothing shopping, plus a $200 shopping spree to go get school supplies. So I was just like, she not only got a full ride, but she got $700? Like, that's unheard of. At that award ceremony, I made a promise to myself that I am going to get a big scholarship no matter what I have to do. The journey began for me that day in that auditorium when she gave that presentation. She was talking about the scholarship I really wanted, which was like, I think the Gates Millennium or not. It was one of them. It was a really big one. It was a full ride. And then she was talking about like the Coca-Cola one and like a whole bunch of other scholarships. So my eyes were really invested in those ones. And the last one she talked about was POSSE. Now, I'm gonna tell you, I wasn't really interested in POSSE, to be honest with you. One, because it was something I wasn't really familiar with. I had no idea what it was. I didn't know what it was about. And the second reason was because she told me it was only full tuition. So full tuition automatically went canceled. I don't want this. So I just really wasn't invested. And 3, she told me because I had to get nominated. And I felt like that was just extra work of getting nominated for it. Plus this interview thing, like I just was being lazy. I didn't really want, you know, to put in the work to get a scholarship that only granted me full tuition, when I can invest myself into one that would give me a full ride. You know what I'm saying? So that's just the honest truth. But it's just funny how things work out in the end. The ones I wanted, I didn't, you know, get, and the ones I wanted, I did. So like, that's just crazy, you know, to think about. Basically, she told us in order to get nominated for this scholarship, you needed to write a little letter to her explaining why we deserve the scholarship, why we want it, and everything we know about it. Thought in my head I wasn't gonna get it because everyone in this room with me is gonna, you know, write their little letter to get nominated, and I wasn't gonna get chosen. I wanted to keep my options open, so I decided to, you know, go after all the scholarships she presented, because regardless, if I didn't get one, I was gonna get one of them. So I did my little thing. I wrote that little letter, and if I have it, I'm gonna put it on the screen. I hope I have it. I hope I do. But I wrote my letter and I submitted it to her, and yeah, to be honest with you, I heard back. About 2 months later, I'd say in July, I received a postcard in the mail, which I'm gonna put on the screen, saying that I had been nominated for POSSE and my interview date was such and such at this time, at this location, and it gave me the rundown of everything. At that moment is when I decided to take it seriously. I took it seriously because I felt like they took me seriously, and my life changed after. So after going to the first interview, like I told y'all, I didn't really prepare myself well. I didn't do my research. I did basic research for that letter, but after that, I was just like, you know what, I'm good. I'm just gonna show up and see what happens. I go there, there's about, like I said, 100 other kids there. I'm nervous as I don't know what, but that interview actually ended up being fun. And you're probably like, what? But you'll see when you get there if you're going through the process. It wasn't that bad. There was a scary moment when I had to choose whether or not I was gonna speak on that microphone. But I told myself if I didn't speak on the microphone, then I wasn't gonna get it. So, you guessed it. You guess what I did? I got up on that microphone, said what I had to say, and then I moved on with my life. After all that was over, they had an information session, and they were talking about like what happens next after this interview, what to look out for. They said that we would get an email regardless of whether we made it to the next round or not. And two, we also had to think about this more. A lot of kids get into this and they don't know this, but when you do POSSE, the scholarship doesn't apply to any school in the country. It only applies to the particular schools that POSSE's partnered with. So for me, I was like in limbo because I was like,
what? Bro, what are you talking about, man?
Okay, partnered with 5 schools I've never even heard of before.
Bro, I'm out, man. That nigga's tripping.
So I immediately think it's a scam. I'm just like, what now? So I'm here in Lafayette, University of Wisconsin-Madison. I'm here in Sewanee, the University of South, Rochester, Bucknell, and I'm just like, what? I've never heard of any of these schools before. And so automatically I'm thinking POSSE's canceled. I'm like, I'm done with this, you know. Nothing works out for me. Nothing. But then I decided to humble myself a bit and tell myself that God wouldn't let me into the situation if he didn't have a plan. So I need to keep all my options open because at this point I don't have any scholarship. I'm gonna have to work with this. They nominated me, so if I get this, I'm continuing this process. 2 weeks later, I get that email saying that I made it to second round, and I get instantly excited all over again. If any application says it's optional to do this, I always do it because that can be something that makes the difference. Basically, I got this big 3, the little science fair boards. I decided to paint this really pretty moon and water portrait in the back. I decided to put together the Sewanee school as my dream, and then I decided to collage everything I did in high school together, just to represent everything I've accomplished thus far, and the water background will represent where I was going in the future. I think that is what made my second interview pretty memorable. And then, next thing you know, At this point, I'm knee deep. I'm like, I need the scholarship. Sewanee became my dream school. After the second interview, I was up every single night just on Sewanee's website reading everything about it. I was watching YouTube videos I could find about that school, and just hearing the people in those videos speak about their experiences made me want to go there even more. This thing I didn't want in the beginning started to become my dream, this burning passion that if I didn't get it, I felt like I was not going to live. I was a little dramatic, but you know, that's what dreams do to you. 2 weeks later, I get an email stating that I made it to the third and final round. I was so emotional and overwhelmed with joy, but I was also overwhelmed with fear because if I don't get this one, then you know, it's over. It's also worth mentioning that one of my teachers knew another girl who was a POSSE student. I was in contact with her the whole entire process, and she was always giving me tips and pointers and things I needed to do. And the one thing she told me to do was practice doing these interviews. So I did a practice interview with like 3 teachers at my school, and I did one with my parents. My parents were very supportive throughout this process. They were really in limbo, like they didn't know what was going on, but they were supporting me in this, if that makes sense. I was pretty much in this all alone. Didn't really have any guidance from them because they didn't know what was really happening, but they did support me and like help me with my interview. It's the final interview at this point. I need some water. Final interview at this point, and I get in there and I just, I feel like my anxiety was so high because the pressure's on, like, because there's 20 people fighting for 10 spots and I'm one of them. I'm just like nervous, bruh. I'm just nervous, you know? There's nothing I can do but just do my best. And so I say a prayer before that interview, and then I go in there, and the interview is much like the first. The only difference is it's less people. It is, you know, you, the POSSE people evaluating you, and now your school of choice. I was really nervous because I had to show them that I was special. To be honest with you, I didn't feel like I was. I felt like this whole entire process was just random. This was the first time people were taking me seriously, and so it was just overwhelming.